All right, today we're diving into something that, let's be honest, affects every single one of us, every single day. Our brain's built-in tendency to focus on the bad.
I mean, really think about it. You could have an absolutely fantastic day, maybe you get a ton of praise at work, but then one person makes one little critical comment. And what happens? That's the only thing you can think about for the rest of the night. Sound familiar?
Well, here's the good news. It's not you, and it's definitely not some kind of personal failing. This is actually a built-in feature of the human brain, and it has a name, the negativity bias. So to really understand what's going on up there, we need to dig into the science.
To really get our heads around this, we have to start with one simple but super powerful scientific principle. Bad is just stronger than good.
So where does this idea even come from? Well, a lot of it goes back to this really foundational research paper from 2001. A group of scientists went through a massive range of psychological studies, and they just kept finding the same exact pattern over and over and over again.
And this quote from their paper pretty much says it all. Across the board, from our relationships, to how we learn, to how we form impressions of people, the impact of a negative event is just consistently more powerful and longer lasting than a positive one.
And get this, you can literally see this bias in action inside the brain. A researcher named John Cacioppo showed people a bunch of different images, some positive, some neutral, and some pretty negative. And whenever those negative images popped up, the electrical activity in their brains just surged. It wasn't just a feeling, it was a physical, measurable, and totally automatic reaction. Our brains are simply hardwired to sound the alarm much louder for bad news.
So why? Why on earth would our brains be built this way? It seems counterproductive, right? Well, the answer goes way, way back. It's all about survival.
For our ancient ancestors, this bias was like an essential piece of their survival kit. I mean, the early human who heard a rustle in the grass and immediately thought predator was way more likely to survive than the one who thought, oh, it's probably just the wind. So, over thousands of generations, the brains that were hyper-attuned to threats, those are the ones that got passed down. The problem is we've still got that same ancient software running today. But instead of saber-toothed tigers, it's amplifying bad traffic, a critical email, or a nasty comment online.
And this is really the core of the issue. There's this huge mismatch. Our ancestors' brain had one main job: don't get eaten, right? It prioritized speed and threat detection above everything else. But our modern brains, we have a totally different mission. We're looking for fulfillment, connection, and a bit of calm. And that old survival programming isn't always helpful for our new goals.
Okay, so let's see how this plays out in one of the most important areas of our lives, our relationships.
Because bad is so much stronger than good. A simple 50-50 balance between positive and negative moments. Well, it isn't nearly enough. So what does it actually take?
The magic ratio, according to decades of research by the psychologist John Gottman, is 5-to-1.
Yeah, you heard that right. For a relationship to feel stable and satisfying, you need at least 5 positive interactions, a compliment, a moment of connection, a shared laugh, to counteract the weight of just one negative interaction. That just shows you how powerful this bias is, and it's the small, frequent positive things that matter most, not just big romantic gestures. Couples who consistently fall below this ratio are often, sadly, on a path towards separation.
Now, this might all sound a bit discouraging, like we're just stuck with this gloomy brain. But here's the most important part of this whole explainer. Your brain is not fixed.
This ancient wiring is a tendency. It's a default setting, but it is not a life sentence. And that's thanks to a truly remarkable property of the brain.
And this is the key. It's called neuroplasticity. It just means that your brain is constantly changing based on your experiences. Every time you repeat a thought or a behavior, you are literally strengthening the neural pathways for it, which means you can intentionally practice habits that build and strengthen more positive, resilient pathways in your own mind. You can actually train your brain.
So how do you actually do it? Well, here is a simple, science-backed toolkit to begin retraining that brain of yours.
It starts with simply noticing your thoughts, using mindfulness to just catch that negative spiral as it begins. The second step is to reframe the story. This is a technique where you actively question a negative thought instead of just accepting it as true. And finally, you have to actively hunt for the good. Making a daily practice of finding small positive moments literally strengthens your brain's ability to see them in the first place.
And this right here is a perfect example of what it means to reframe. This technique is called diffusion, and it's all about creating distance from your thoughts.
So instead of thinking, I am not intelligent, you learn to step back and just observe, I'm having the thought that I'm not intelligent. See the difference? You see the thought without having to believe it. It just robs it of its power.
So, let's end with this. The negativity bias is strong, but you are stronger. It takes intention and practice, but you absolutely can tip the scales. The key is to just start small. So what's one positive moment, the taste of your coffee, a kind word from a friend, that you can fully notice and savor right now? Because that, right there, is where the change begins.